to YouthCorner. I'm Ibrahim Rahman. This is the friendly chat show for the youth, a place to talk about what you do, recognise your achievements, share your experiences and inspiring stories, and discuss topics that matter to you. Now, it's two for the price of one in the studio today. I'm delighted to introduce Uzma Chaudhry and Carl Francis. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
Very good.
Not too bad. Not too bad. I've travelled from Manchester, so I'm a little bit tired already, but not bad.
Fantastic. Now, let's introduce yourselves. Obviously, starting with you, Uzma.
Yeah.
Now, you come from far, far away. Not to be confused with that place in a movie about a green mythical ogre. Yeah, just tell us where you're from and what do you do.
So I'm originally from Greater Manchester. I live in a town called Bury, which has a world-famous market, something that not many people want to...
Nobody knows about this world-famous market.
People in Bury know about this world-famous market.
Tell us about this world-famous market.
There's nothing really to tell. I don't know why it's world-famous. There's some very good black pudding if you ever want to come to Bury and have our
Really selling it there.
black pudding. What I do, so my day job actually revolves around working for a telecoms company. I work for O2. I'm not sure if I can mention the name.
O2, fantastic.
I work in the head office of O2 within business sales. So no, you can't have a discount or you don't get a free phone. Those are the two disclaimers I usually do when I tell people.
For a moment, you're going to be talking about oxygen. But, how wrong I was.
Oh, okay. But aside from my day job, I'm involved with a number of other bits and bobs as well.
Brilliant stuff. Now, that's really interesting. Let's talk about yourself, Carl. What do you do?
I work for two charities. I work for Age UK London, just sort of helping older people over the phone who are often targeted by rogue traders with our business directory. And also I work for Health Watch City of London, which I get young people's views on local health services and things like that, with a view to changing them for the better.
That's very interesting. So how long have you been involved with that then?
With Age UK for coming up to 3 years in October, Health Watch about a year and a half. That one's slightly harder because young people don't actually want to talk about health issues, and I get why. I mean, like, obviously we want their feedback, but at the same time, you know, like, you don't really think about it in your day-to-day. I'm probably not the best ambassador for healthy eating, I'm sure.
He eats a lot of fried chicken.
Can't say no to fried chicken.
Exactly.
Especially in London as well. I mean,
I hear a lot about fried chicken in London. I don't understand it. We have Dixie in the north. That's pretty much it.
I'm pretty sure there's some Dixies around here, but there's loads of PFCs. But anyway, that's another matter. Age UK then. So that sounds quite interesting. Interesting charity there. So tell us about the work that you've done for them, and what does Age UK do?
So Age UK London, that's the region. So you've got Age UK National, and then you've got Age UK London, the one that I work for, the regional one. And then you've actually got local Age UKs for each borough in London. Age UK London, the regional one that I work for, there's just several different things that we do around policy and campaigning, also the communication stuff, redirecting people to their local Age UK, and then obviously the business directory that I'm on as well. In short, just looking out for older people and speaking up for them, and it's quite interesting because older people are often forgotten about, I feel, and it wasn't really until I started working there that I realised how forgotten about that they actually are. So it's been an eye-opener for me. I've done several different things there. I've done my work on the business directory. I've done some work trying to get young people working with older people, getting them online and things like that. So yeah, it's been quite interesting.
I don't know if you saw a few days ago, in fact, there was an article about an elderly couple who had been so sort of traumatised by loneliness that they called the police, and the police came and they made spaghetti, or they made their dinner for them just for some conversation. And you know, it's really sad to hear that that's obviously the situation.
Yeah.
But it's good that we've got him working on it.
Yeah, nudge, I did see that. Oh, good. That's very interesting though. So, how did you two both meet then?
So
she just followed me one day home. I felt sorry for her.
You felt sorry for me.
You mean you made
so
some bolognese as well, right? Yeah.
He wishes I followed him. No, we actually were on a leadership program together with a charity called V Inspired. They ran a program called Team V throughout Team V. It was a 9-month program, and we were sort of invited along to 3 residentials across the 9 months where we were given a campaign and loads of training. It was amongst the training where we were sort of split off into groups and forced to make friends with people that we'd never met before. That he came and sat next to me, obviously I can see why. And and we actually worked on a little task together, and then we didn't really speak again until the end of the programme. And I was sort of floating around in London. I kind of mentioned, oh, I'm in London, do you want to meet up? And then kind of just took off from there. I don't know, I think, it was...
each other hilarious.
You found me hilarious.
Oh.
But I think more than anything, the reason that we stayed friends is because we met in a platform or in an environment where we were surrounded by like-minded people, and it was really easy to bond with other leaders on the programme. And I think that's probably the reason that we became friends so fast, is because we were there for a common goal, which was to sort of be on this leadership programme to kind of really drive change within our local areas. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we became friends as fast as we did.
It's interesting you mentioned Be Inspired, because one of the guests that we had previously, early this year, was Amira Hawk, and I think you probably know her as well from your face.
Amira.
But she did talk, I'm sure she'll wave back if she's watching. But no, she was also part of the same scheme, and she mentioned quite a lot of things about Be Inspired, a lot of skills that she obtained from volunteering as well. Is that something that you feel that you achieved as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I had already done a little bit of volunteering prior to Be Inspired, but I think it really demonstrated how we can use volunteers to create an awareness in a more organic sense. It's sometimes with, and I think you'll find this in the charity sector, when you're trying to force feed people sort of campaigns, it's quite difficult to get their support, whereas if a volunteer has already come and approached you, it means that they're already engaged, and the sort of the environment you're creating as a campaign is a lot more organic, it's a lot more passionate, because people want to be there, they want to do something about an issue. So volunteering definitely, has opened so many doors in a number of aspects.
That's very interesting. So post Be Inspired then, so where have you ended up since that then? And do you feel that the skills that you've gained from that have really helped you in your career so far?
I'd definitely say, in terms of an awareness building thing, it's just made me a lot more aware of the issues that are going on in our society, and more importantly than that, just looking at what we can actually do about it. I think that a lot of the time we recognise that problems like homelessness, loneliness and isolation with older people, extreme poverty, they're all there, but we don't ever talk about what we can actually do to solve the problem, and that's something that we're both quite passionate about, and we're just looking to see what we can do around that.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, Be Inspired kind of took me in a very different direction. I don't know if you're going to touch on this later, but when I sort of joined Team B on the leadership programme as a leader, I didn't really have any idea of where I wanted to go. I sort of finished my A-levels and was looking for something to do with my time. I knew that I didn't want to go to university straight away, and in doing so I found the programme. I did a lot of work with them as a leader, but then I progressed and became a mentor for the next group of leaders, and then an ambassador as well. And I think that being in an environment, like I said, with like-minded people gave me a sense of direction with my own personal life. So Be Inspired, and kind of in terms of the opportunities it's given, I know without a doubt I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today without Team B, without Be Inspired and volunteering in general.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. So you just mentioned about education, so let's touch on that slightly. So because I know you wrote about education with the Telegraph.
Yes.
Now that sounds really cool, and I'd love to hear more about that. So how did you get involved with the Telegraph then?
So my involvement with the Telegraph actually came through my work. So as I mentioned, I didn't sort of rush off to university like most of my friends at the end of our A-levels. I sort of took a year out to figure out what it was I was interested in, what I wanted to develop, and in doing so I came across apprenticeships as a sort of a principle, and it's something that I think I've been made aware of before, but never considered them for myself, mostly because people assume apprenticeships are for people who aren't smart enough to go to university, for example. And there is a really big sort of weird stigma around apprenticeships not being for everyone. And so I joined O2 as an apprentice doing business sales, and through the network that I had there, somebody got in touch with me and said, we really value your opinions. Can you write us a few articles? And it kind of started from there, and now I have access to a very big platform to be able to sort of voice my opinions on things, but also do it in a more constructive way. And I think that's something that we both feel quite strongly about, is that there are hundreds and hundreds of people already, thousands, millions, whatever you want to say, that already have their opinions and they're putting them into this space, but kind of isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
It's like shouting in an already crowded room.
Yeah.
We feel really strongly about providing practical solutions for issues. So it's always going to be the underlying theme to anything that we're working on. But in regards to education and writing for the Telegraph, I feel really strongly that so many people go to university for the sake of going. University is not a cheap option. It's not something that people should just assume that they're going to do because that's the only option. So I use the Telegraph blogs to kind of write about gap years and how you can use a gap year to sort of strategically plan where you want to go next. So many of my friends that went to university have come out of it now and thinking, okay, I don't actually know what I'm passionate about. I don't know what I'm interested in. I've spent 3 years at university, had a really great time, which I don't dispute. But in terms of their personal development, there's been very, very little of that. And I think that sometimes just taking your time with those sorts of steps, important decisions, is really valuable. And a gap year, although it's got this sort of assumption that I was waking up at midday every day. That's not true. I worked really, really hard, as well as volunteered for several hours a week, as well as my Team B stuff. So providing you do it all with a strategy to some degree in mind, but just explore your options. University is not the only option. University is not just for people who are really, really intelligent. I mean, because so many
still
people
sort of forge a career path.
Yeah.
Even if you don't go to university. But you haven't ruled out university.
Absolutely,
you still would want to go at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as I'm getting older, I've really understood myself a lot better to be able to think about what I would like to study. I'm only just getting to a stage after all of these years, after leaving college, I'm only just getting to a stage where I'm like, you know what, this topic interests me. And that's, for me personally, I think that's one of the only reasons you should go to university. If there's a specific area that interests you, or you need it for a career or a profession such as medicine or law or something like that. But passion should be the heart of why you go to university, passion for a subject. And I just don't feel like at the age of 16 or 18 you're in a position to have explored enough out there to know what your passions are.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting point, because you always feel like once you've just done your GCSEs and then you're having to quickly pick A-levels, if you decide to do A-levels, that is, and then before you know it, you have to decide which university you want to go to and what subjects you want to do, and that happens very quickly, and so it's not always easy perhaps to make a rational decision. Was that the case for you?
Absolutely. I'm the complete opposite of Uzma. In fact, I'm one of the people you just spoke about. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. When it was just more the case, everyone was saying, yeah, go to university. I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. I mean, I'm good at media studies. Yeah, let's try that. And I'm quite fortunate in that worked out for me, because I know where I'm going with myself now. And it was only I did pick up practical skills throughout university. It definitely helped with my analytical skills, with my reading, with my practical skills, so video production and that sort of thing. It's been a very good experience for me, and the people that I met as well. But I think I would encourage, especially since it costs so much now, like you can't just risk it all on university. Like you have to take some time to figure out what you want to do with yourself, what you want to do with your life, and more importantly, the change that you want to see in the world.
Sure.
And yeah, I just don't think we're given enough space to do that. But thankfully for me, it's kind of panned out into what I want to do with my future.
That's good, because you said you did media studies, wasn't it? And that was at the University of Brighton.
University of Brighton,
so that's quite one of the top universities in the country, isn't it? So
I think so. Yeah. Let's say that.
Yeah,
just under Oxford and Cambridge. Yeah.
No, that's great stuff there. So
It's not verified information. I think he's making that up.
No, I have heard some very positive things about that university, actually.
It was a very good experience. And in Brighton, everyone's quite chilled as well. I think that was one of the best things about university, just the atmosphere in general. It was actually a place where you could just explore and be yourself and find other people just who have similar interests.
And what I will say about not going to university is that often I do see, because I launched pretty much straight into a career and it was very, very hands-on, sometimes I do feel like I haven't had that time to myself in some ways, in terms of exploring my own interests outside of a career. A lot of my friends will have their lectures to attend, but then, beyond that, they're really not really doing much, and I've never had that experience. And sometimes I do think it's important for my own sort of well-being to be able to take some time for myself, and because I've never had the opportunity to, because I've either been working full-time or volunteering. And I think sometimes, university isn't a terrible thing. Everything's in moderation, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Just about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So just going back to you, Carl. So why did you decide to do media studies then? So I know you mentioned that you weren't really sure about what you wanted to do, but was it that did you do A level and then you decided that you just wanted to do?
Yeah, it was a subject that I've done at GCSE level and A level, and I had been doing sort of consistently well in that subject. And it was more just that I thought, oh, well, I'm good with this. I have a very vague idea about where it can take me in my future. Let's follow it and see what happens. That's probably not the best advice to give to people. For me, luckily, it panned out because we do have a message that we want to get out there to people, and so hopefully the skills that I've learned in my degree will help us to do that. But yeah, it was a bit of a just try it and see what happens, and it worked out for me.
And you really enjoyed it as well?
Absolutely. It's one of the best experiences of my life, and I would love to do it. I hesitate in saying that. I would do it again. Would I do it again now? I wouldn't want to. I feel like once you've had that experience, there isn't. Well, for me personally, there wasn't a need to go for a master's or extend it in any way because it was sort of a means to an end, and it has given me a direction or confirmed the direction that I want to go in. So. Yeah, worth it, definitely. And
one direction that it has led you to, particularly both of you, was charismatic.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting name, I must say. So you're both making videos together. Yeah. And so give us the lowdown. Who came up with the name?
I prefer chicken tikka, to be honest.
Yeah, I read some rumours about that you were going to call it chicken tikka, but...
Charismatic. It
was Carl's name, but I'm the motor behind the entire channel.
Isn't there a bit of a bias though, because you can spell Uzma's name in
full,
but that's and there's an L missing from your name.
That's a description of our dynamic anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly Uzma anyway. So.
A bit like Jedward.
Oh God!
Well, maybe not, but...
Better looking without the hair? No.
Less annoying, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jedward. If you're watching this.
Okay, but jokes aside, though, obviously, I mean, it's nice to have jokes, but yeah, whose idea, obviously, was it to go ahead with doing this, and why did you decide to put a YouTube channel together?
So I think...
what were the reasons for doing it?
Yeah, it was something, so like I said before, we feel really strongly about a number of issues, and what we were kind of hitting our heads against a wall with was the fact that these opinions are out there, these ideas are out there, there's the left side of it, there's the right side of things, how do we channel that into something productive? How do we change it? And for us, we thought YouTube is probably the most accessible platform to be able to get our opinions out there with practical solutions, as I mentioned before. With regards to actually filming, there are a few logistical difficulties we do come across at times, namely being the distance between us. Obviously I work full time, Carl works as well, he has 2 jobs, so finding the time to do it is actually really, really difficult at times, but more than anything, it's an opportunity for us to, channel, like I said, channel our opinions and our ideas in a productive way. And I would say so far we've done a pretty good job of that. I feel confident in terms of the direction we're going in. And I think because our passion is at the heart of everything we do, I feel like that's always going to be our motivation, our drive. We were discussing before, it's really hard to measure the impact you're making with something like a YouTube channel because you might not always get the number of views that you want or whatever, but as long as we're contributing to that difference in a positive way with everything that's going on, I feel like we're headed in a good direction.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. I think you find that when you're doing content creation, the more content you obviously produce, then you'll find exposure will increase over time. Yeah. So I think that's just a matter of just continue doing that. So, so what videos have you made so far?
Ooh, quite a few. We had our first introduction video, which was just a bit of fun to say who we are, what we want to do with the channel, and how we want to affect change in the world. But then we've had quite a few different ones. I did one on street fundraising, just because people are often, the concept of seeing a street fundraiser on the street, and this comes from somebody who's worked in the charity sector, it's seen as a bit of a, oh my gosh, I don't really want to talk to that person. What do I do when I see a street fundraiser? And I wanted to sort of play on that and see, ask people, how do you actually want to engage with charities? Because I think at the end of the day, we're all aware that these issues are there and we need to do something about them, but it's just about how we do it. And if we want to help charities, then we have to look at the barriers, and that is a barrier. I mean, people do sometimes see people on the street from a charity, and they might not even be asking for money, but it is a real barrier, and people just think, oh, I don't want to speak to that person. Well, now we're not engaging with the work that a charity is doing, we're not finding out how we can help, so we need to look at that relationship, and that's something that we're hoping to do more on as well.
In terms of other videos, I think we're not afraid of sort of going into any topic. So I've done a video about the portrayal of Muslims in the media, really, really short video, but I think it's something that even within my own circle of friends, I'd mentioned things that they perhaps not considered before. It's
what kind of things have you considered exactly? What have you kind of touched upon?
So some of the things that I mentioned in the video is the fact that, without trying to, I feel like the media is a really easy scapegoat, but I feel like when you are assessing bits of information, you need to do it with a certain level of critical thinking, essentially.
Yeah.
You need to understand the perspective of who's writing what you're reading, why are they writing it, do they have their own agenda, do they have their own bias, and I think it's very, very little things like that. I feel like a lot of the issues that we face these days stem from ignorance, and one of the ways that we learn about what's going on in the world is through media. And if media is not portraying things in an accurate way, then, how do we actively change that? And that essentially comes down to us. It's our responsibility to look for the truth, even though we're not being given it. So, that was one of the topics that I've discussed in a video. I've done a few vlogs as well with regards to sort of daily life. So we went to the Muslim lifestyle show and I did a bit of a video then. I'd been traveling, so I did a quick sort of vlog for that as well. But that's kind of partially to work on my own camera skills, because I think behind this all, as much as we do want to drive change, we have a bit of an interest. I mean, you did a degree in media studies. You arguably have an interest in media as well, and I think social media is one of the most powerful tools that we have in the modern era.
Absolutely.
If it can ignite the Arab awakening in the Arab Spring, then we can make a bit of change on YouTube as well.
Oh, good stuff. Because one of the projects that you've done on your video channel is Live Below the Line. So what is Live Below the Line all about?
So Live Below the Line, it's a scheme where you live on £5 in terms of food for your whole week. And it was something that we decided to, we just want to talk about any sort of issue that involves helping other people anyway, but it was something that we thought was quite a good example of how you can demonstrate that through a video as well. And we just thought to go ahead and see how it is.
We lived on £5 for 5 days. That worked out about 33 pence per meal.
Wow.
I think it was we completely underestimated the sort of seriousness of the challenge, because we assumed that we'd go about our daily routine with very little difference to our actual meal, but that whole day revolved around, do I have enough food to eat? When can I eat? Because I can't just pick up a sandwich from the shop that I'm walking past. I have to plan my meals. It was a real sort of experience and a half, and I think I actually reference in some of my daily vlogs, I reference the experience and compare it to fasting, and my experiences of fasting were very, very different, as I mentioned in my videos, because with fasting there was promise of a really satisfactory meal at the end of your day, be it a 19-hour day or a 20-hour day. You knew that you'd be able to eat whatever you wanted to, whereas with this, for 5 consecutive days, there was no real satisfaction in terms of what you were eating, because everything was so cheap, everything was very, very low in nutrition. There was no real sort of like, okay, I feel satisfied now. And I think, people living below the breadline are in that situation constantly, and we only did it for 5 days, but 5 days was enough to understand.
You found it really challenging. But did it help you realise? What kind of emotions did you feel from doing it then?
For me, there were 2 big points where it really hit home. The first was when I wanted to make French toast, like egg and toast, and it burnt because I didn't have any money to buy oil, and I really like food, so I could still eat, obviously, but it just wasn't a good meal. And it was just like that. I'd been looking forward to that the whole day, and not to be able to have a good meal at the end of the day is something that I've obviously taken for granted. And then the second point was on the very last day. I'd run for a train to go and see a friend, and I wanted a drink of water, but I had 20p left and I couldn't go and buy a drink of water. And I was like, oh my God, I've never been in this situation before. I've never been in a situation where I can't have water. Obviously, we just went to a pub and got some free tap water, but it's the principle that I wasn't in a position to be able to meet one of my basic needs if it was just up to me, and that in itself is quite scary.
Definitely.
Yeah, it really does hit at home, I bet, especially with those who are living in poverty, who even can't afford even £5 worth of food or drink. I guess would that include with sort of clothing as well, and sheltering, how people live as well? It's not just food.
So we found it hard enough with £5 for food and drink. there are people that are living on less than that, and they have to pay for bills, they have to do their sort of gas, electric, water, all of those things. We had the privilege still of being able to switch the gas on to make the food. Some people, I even read online, Trussell Trust only give out things that don't involve cooking. People sometimes return things that involve using heat because they only have a microwave or a boiling water. So, you know, it's so many, we only sort of, I feel like we've only really scratched the surface with the issue, because £5, yes, it's really, really difficult to do that, but the situation seems to be a lot worse. I think we both underestimated the challenge, and I think we both, after doing that, it's not an issue we're going to let go, because...
that's the thing now, you know, where do you take this forward now? I mean, do you want to encourage more people to do it? And also, like, seeing as you do a lot of work with social change and things like that, you know, are you looking to continue this campaign in another way?
I think in terms of encouraging other people to do it, absolutely. It's something that I'm going to do either every year or every couple of years, just as a reminder. I think that in itself is a good thing for me. The official campaign, I've forgotten the dates, but early next year is actually the time where everybody's supposed to be doing it at the same time. They weren't doing an official one this year, but they're doing it next year.
I would urge everybody to. I'm challenging you on camera.
Oh, do it.
I have Ramadan breaks.
See, this is, you say that. I have it too.
No, that's very true. Though. No,
I'm going to challenge you. Can I like publicly challenge you?
I think I will consider it.
Absolutely.
I think it certainly is a very interesting campaign, and it certainly does raise awareness of some really important issues.
Yeah.
So especially, and it's not just in this country as well. It could be happening anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
With
regards to sort of moving forward in terms of campaigns, we both agree that there's always a certain level of politics involved with any sort of social change. It's something that I don't think I wanted to accept for a very long time, because I've always been very disengaged from politics for a number of reasons. You hear about expense scandals, you hear about politicians being in it for themselves, being really disengaged from the people they're supposed to be representing, and I've always sort of stayed away from it. But you know, in recent years, and especially with the training we got from Be Inspired as well, it's kind of hit home that politics is the mechanism that sort of drives change. You have to engage with politics to some degree, whether you like it or not. And I think, you know, recent results with Brexit and leaving the EU has really hit home that, you know, you have to be aware, you have to have a basic understanding of what's going on in our country if you want to change it.
Right.
So I think in terms of moving forward with the campaign, it's understanding that from a political level and an institutional level, our services are not up to speed or up to scratch to support those people that end up in that situation. So, you know, I think there needs to be a certain level of engagement in politics from our side, from people within the general public. It's not enough to engage with politics at the time of general election. It needs to be consistently.
It needs to be an ongoing process throughout. Not just suddenly just peak things up because it's an election coming up. Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. So we are coming towards the end of the show. So this is a section where we give advice to the youth. So based on your experiences so far, what kind of advice would you give to the youth? Start with you, Carl.
I would just honestly encourage people to be more active and just engage with issues that are affecting them and affecting the community and affecting us as a global community. Find a way to do it that's something that you can manage as well. Don't go out there and think, I'm going to take on the world. No, handle it one issue at a time. And just find out little things that you can do. So there are opportunities to help fix these issues, but we just are so disengaged. We focus on, well, I'm a culprit myself, PlayStation, food, going out, whatever. Like, we all just have other things that we like to do. And then while we're doing that, we just seem to forget that there are other people that need our help. So I'd say just make a bit of time to think about how you can make a difference in your own way.
Absolutely. What about you, Uzma?
I think it's very similar to obviously what Cole's already said. I think for me, it's living beyond your 9 till 5. I think it's very much a lifestyle change. If you want to, my advice to youth would be to live beyond what you've been told you need to do in life. So live beyond your job, live beyond your university, live beyond your degree, and really look at the environments that you're in, the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Do they want sort of the best for humanity as well? And I know it sounds like a very philosophical thing to say to a young person, but, you know,
it makes you think, though, doesn't it?
It makes you think, and I think in terms of perspective of everything that's going on, if you just take a few minutes to sort of look at how you can make those little changes in your everyday life to spread a little bit of good, do your random act of kindness, do your one good thing of the day. If you aim for doing one nice thing for somebody every single day, inadvertently change your environment that you're in, and that will have a knock-on effect to the wider society. So I think just living a little more selflessly would be my advice.
Because charity starts from home, doesn't
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely.
I think that's a nice way to round things off today. So on that note, we have come to the end of the show. So many thanks to Carl, Francis and Uzma Chaudhry for joining me at YouthCorner today. It's been a real pleasure having you both. So thanks
Thank
again.
you for having us.
Thank you. No problem. And many thanks to all of you watching as well. If you'd also like to be a guest at YouthCorner, do get in touch. The email address is youthcorner@lb24.tv. Until next time, I've been Ibrahim Rahman. It's goodbye for now.